I would like first to welcome you on to this event. As we announced some weeks ago, we will be starting these lunch seminars. The concept of a lunch seminar is to spend 20 minutes just sharp on presenting some key findings that we have so far from various projects. So thank you very much for that. I give the floor to Mia, the first presentation. So good luck. It's on the Prospect project, one of the pioneering projects we have so far. Mia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Boss. I will put you on the camera, and whoever wants can also do the same. Good. So we start. Don't worry, this is really short. I did it as Vlasis asked. It's just key points about Prospect, but it was done in a way that maybe through my talking, I will also involve you or ask you questions instead of only having the discussion later on. So as far as I'm concerned, feel free to stop me or ask questions. I will talk about it like for those of you who don't know anything about it, so I'll go just about the basics. The idea was to do a peer-to-peer learning for mentors and mentees, so for cities and regions in Europe, basically. So we asked both mentors and mentees to apply, and we get them together based on the 5 modules that we offer, and you see the icons of the modules here. So far, we got over 100 applicants, which is we are very happy, and we get an extension for 6 months to do the 4th round, especially because of this interest. So the idea is that we divide the interest into 5 modules: public buildings, private buildings, public lighting, transport, and cross-sectoral. We ask the mentees to not just to express interest, but to come into the project with a certain project of their own, so something from their SEAPs or SECAPs that they want to invest into, but they don't know which innovative financing instrument to use. And we teach them about these, we let mentors that we find teach them about these innovative instruments. So this is the expression of interest so far. So no, sorry, this is the expression of best practices. We will see the interest later on. So to start the program, we developed some materials and on all the 5 modules. And as you can see, if we divide it per scheme, basically most of the best practices that we found are about EPC. And it was mostly about public buildings and private buildings, plus a lot of it was cross-sectoral, including renewable energies. So this is what we started out with, and these are the materials I would like you to keep in mind that you can find on our website. You also have the links here. So we have the 5 handbooks with those best practices that I just mentioned. Then we have the benchmark. This is something that UPRC developed with our help, and this is a great tool. So we thought, as long as we have all these cities involved, why not get their perspective on many matters in their city to see in the end what differentiates those cities with good practices and those cities that still weren't able to implement as many innovative financing solutions for sustainable energy projects. And in the end, we got some results which I will just, they're really straightforward, but it's really interesting how we got to them, and then to see how the numbers show what we already probably all know, and that's that cities with different general institutional capacities can be successful in financing and implementing SECAPs. But the most important thing is to invest in educated people, and not only that, so not only have the people in place, but give them time. Because a lot of people, they say even if they're knowledgeable and employed for the cities, they just don't have time to invest, to search for the innovative financing solutions, so they usually just go for what they know and just ask for some loans or some old ways of financing. And the third thing I want to draw your attention to is the list of mentors and their good practices that we have on the website. It's all under library, so if you go there, you can really find you can come into contact with these people, say that you are also in IEECP, part of this project, and it's an easy way to start communication with some great mentors all over Europe. So now I have 5 questions for you. Maybe if you want to guess, if not, just listen and you will find out. But just interesting to see what is your perspective and what we got out of this project. So if you think about the financing schemes that I showed you, I don't know if it's obvious, but from the revolving funds, soft loans, EPC, citizen financing, and green bonds, one that was the most popular is EPC. So over half of the people that come into the project, when we ask them what they want, they say EPC. Now, we also found that this shows one of the problems, and the problem is they circle EPC because they don't know about a lot of other innovative financing instruments. So this is one of the first problems starting this project. We realized we are offering something that seems interesting, but people don't know what it is. So we came up with a 5th handbook or guidebook, which is about just generally about the innovative financing instruments, what they are and what kind of projects they can be used for. The next is citizen financing. So a lot of people are interested in this, but again, they might not have the capacity or know what it is. But it's really it's catching up, and this is it's every time we publish a story about citizen financing, it gets a lot of clicks. So this is something really a hot topic now. Then when we think about what was the most sought for financing scheme, sorry, module, this is supposed to say module, the #1 module was public lighting. Again, maybe not so surprising because not a lot of investments is needed to start. There's no ownership rights like with like with buildings, and yeah, most people are interested in this. And there's a lot of interest for transport. But the problem was we could not find eligible mentors for transport. I think in the end now, after 2 years, we found 2 or 3. We might have some groups now, but there aren't so many good practices, and there is a lot of interest for this. And the most successful way of attracting participants, again, one of the things to keep in mind, and that I think we can all transfer to all of our projects, no matter how much we try with the social media, other websites, presentations at events, over half of our people came when we directly email them and invite them, so from people that we know through our networks. So this is in one way unfortunate. We did in the end get to a large group of people. It's not only from the Covenant of Mayors. We did reach as many people as we could, but in the end, of course, it always through direct email invitations is the way that is showed to be the most successful. Then main obstacles to project realization. Well, if we look at the graph or the table, sorry, this was from Covenant of Mayors in 2017. So these are the findings that we started out with, knowing that the biggest problem is limited financial resources and lack of technical expertise. But after doing so many exchanges with so many mentees, what we usually see is that there is actually lack of motivation or some perception of legal barriers that aren't actually there. So many times we just have to listen through things can be done, this is not possible in my country or in my city, our politics doesn't allow it, our legal barriers don't allow it. But the truth is that this is most often not the case, and somebody just has to start, and maybe it will be long and for the first project, but it can be done. So we would just advise mentors also not to argue with those kind of things, just to show on their best practices, and if they want, they can copy it. Yeah. So most of the times when we did try to find legal barriers, they weren't there. Maybe it was more complicated or needs to be done in a different way, but it proved to be possible most of the times. And again, one interesting finding that we didn't hope for. So when you think of the average experience of eligible mentee applications, most of us thought that they will have some experience or extensive experience and maybe be shy to apply as mentors, but the situation was completely different. Most of the people that applied had no experience whatsoever. They didn't have even projects to apply for. So there was this really, there was a huge gap between mentees who are really, really just starting out in the topic, in the topic of financing, innovative financing, energy efficiency. And there's on the other hand, we found great mentors that have so much to offer. So it was really hard to put the two together to make both of them happy. And now just 2 slides about lessons learned. So the first one is about actual observations from managing the project. So it is mostly what we got, not necessarily verified, but something we've seen through these 3 years. In the beginning, our maybe biggest mistake was that we just spent almost a year on trying out how the project will work. We had a test round organized with the participants that are part of our prospect team. And in retrospect, maybe we should have organized the campaign as soon as possible, because it was really hard to get people in the beginning. So in the first two campaigns, we really had limited interest. Then to just come to the third and fourth campaign and have huge interest, but not so much time left. Again, I mentioned that there are a lot less mentors than mentees. I suppose this is a general problem, and one solution that if you have similar learning programs you can have in mind is to organize a two-step campaign. So the first campaign we organized, it was just calling both mentors and mentees at the same time, and what we got is mentors for one topic, mentees for another topic, and we just couldn't match them successfully. So then we, after this, what we do is we have first a month or 2 months long campaign for the mentors. Once we find out what kind of mentors we get, then we campaign for mentees. What's next? Yes, number of people in the group. Well, we have two kinds of groups. One is individual meetings and other is group setting. In the beginning, we thought up to 8. We would allow up to 8, but it turned out that anything over 5 is a lot harder to manage. I don't know why 5 is this number, but it turned to be a magical number. And if a group is below 5, then it's great. If it's more than 5, not necessarily 5 people, but 5 projects or 5 cities we are talking about, then it's really hard and people get lost, and not everyone gets gets what they expected from the program. As you saw, we prepared a lot of material. It's interesting, it's nicely put together, a lot of pictures, a lot of links to other projects, but people just don't open it unless we make them or show them. What people want the most is physical visits, sitting down with the mentor, and just getting solutions through talking and asking questions. So I'll tell you an example. We had we just applied. We submitted another project on peer-to-peer, and we decided that instead of having 4 steps like in Prospect, where there are 4 steps, 3 online and 1 physical meeting, we have 3 steps and all 3 are physical. Of course, it might require a bit more resources spent on traveling, but it's not that much. And if you look at the results in Prospect, after the physical meeting, it's really hard to get people's interest. So that's also maybe another lesson we learned. Any kind of material that needs to be signed, it should be given to participants before the physical meeting or during the physical meeting, because after this, just interest drops and nobody wants to come for the 4th meeting. I mean, we make them somehow, but it takes a lot longer and it's a lot more difficult to keep their motivation after the physical meeting. What we did in the beginning, we had no fee for the mentors. So basically mentors were just here for free. Then we realized this is just not fair because they're great mentors. They offer so much. So we thought we came up with this mentoring fee. And even though not all of them took it, because it's hard to take, some of them can't take money on their own account, it has to go through the city or the agency, and then it's difficult. Even though many of them didn't take it, it did provoke more interest, because maybe it showed that we really care for their time and getting them on board, and did help us, just advertising this fee did help us get more mentors. And we had certification. It was a certification invented for Prospect. It was done by Climate Kick. Besides the certification, Climate Kick also made a platform on their site. Now, I'm like a platform for using all the materials, communicating about Prospect. In reality, if the facilitators didn't make the people use this platform, nobody used it. And the same with the certification. This interest is really low, and we are still looking into why. We believe that it is because our certification is specific for this project. Not a lot of people know about it, and for people working in cities, I think it's just they're maybe afraid of failing, and they don't want to make another burden for themselves, so they just they don't take it. They don't see any benefit in it, and they don't take the certification. And the last slide, this is more about some formalities, maybe important for EASME, for project success internally, and how it's reviewed. EASME will always ask for some kind of signatures. So especially in projects where it is really difficult to show impact in terms of savings, then they want for us to get some kind of signatures that these participants were actually in the program, but also that people around them, let's say the city mayor or somebody above them, is also aware of the program. So it is not just this one person benefiting from the exchange, but the entire city. What we started out with is the idea that we will get outside facilitators, and this turned out to be really unnecessary and expensive. So all of us in the project, we act as facilitators. But this facilitation, I think, is something that the program would not succeed without, because there is a lot of organization involved, much more than we all thought in the beginning. So this facilitator, just the amount of time we need to spend getting the right time for the meeting, for everybody to participate, getting all the documents in place, having everything ready, just the simple things, but things that really allow mentor to spend less time and be more available actually for helping the mentee. So these facilitators, I think, is something crucial to these kind of groups to succeed. And yes, much easier to have very important selection criteria to make them early on, because we did spend a lot of time deciding on case-by-case basis. For example, we do say which country can apply, but then we have people who are from this country, but they work for another country outside of EU, and there's so many specific cases that it will save a lot of time, that in the beginning, the entire team really thinks of all the cases that could happen and make specific rules. And also this is something that EASME asked for, and is better to have straightforward, transparently put on the website. And the last thing, and this is more of a question to all of you, we don't have answer to this, and this is when you start a program like this, and you invest also some money for these people to come, and then they join, and they seem serious, and they sign some paper, but then they drop out. So the question is, we don't know whether we should then ask for the money back for the travel they did, or how to even handle it. So maybe with this I can open the floor for discussion and ask you if you have any ideas, or if in similar projects you had to handle dropouts and how you did it.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mia. You're just also on time. All right, let's have any questions for clarifications or any ideas on the dropouts part. You can feel free to ask on what you heard. Just click on the microphone when you need, and okay, then I guess it is clear from everybody. For the dropouts, indeed, it's a good question, and we will be handling that. I guess that the safest way for a dropout is that once the program, let's say, has been launched and they have carried out 1 or 2 meetings, we simply say enough, they cannot participate, we cannot ask money back, given that they have already spent this amount. So we have to be very fair and frank. But still, we would need a justification why they have dropped out, why they have opted to drop out, and also a statement about if this project was helpful or not to them, because we must also report the bads, not only the goods. Okay.
Right. Yes.
Let me share 2 examples on the dropouts, which might be useful, and I'm fully in agreement with Vlasis that and Mia that this is tough and you can't really push hard upfront. However, I have seen 2 examples where either a sort of trainee, training, or mentee, or whatever, mentor contract was signed on an individual basis or on an institutional basis. And in case this was done on an institutional basis, then it included the commitment of the employer be it a municipality or whatever, to provide or to ensure that that particular individual would be participating. And in that case, there were even penalties or the obligation of paying back the associated cost was included. And what we found that this sort of indirect engagement was extremely useful to ensure that one hand, the employers were completely aware of the individuals participating in this, also getting certified and so on. And secondly, then they had a bit more sort of room for actually ensuring that that employee dropped out, because again, previous experience showed that people are dropping out because they are too busy with their own work. Right. So it's that was the sort of logical linking. The other angle which I have used in the past is really this certification angle, but as we heard from Mia, it seems that the value of it is not really seen. And again, my experience relates to far more formalized certification when either on-the-job training obligations or training credit obtaining was linked to today's sessions, and then it became very, very evident how that drove actual interest. So a thought, on which I am absolutely unaware whether such a thing exists with the general mentees, that if they have any particular obligations for their career progressions or individual development plans of attending certified trainings, then it would be very useful to come to an upfront agreement again with the employer that this training is acceptable. Again, I understand that if these are accredited nationally, then certainly a one-off EU program would never gain such a standing, or it would be just tedious and too time consuming to obtain that. But I see these issues as levers for ensuring that those who actually join would stay on the course and actually finish what they endeavor by staying on. And then obviously if not, then as Vlasis mentioned, one needs to document the reasons, and again, I guess people would be, or employers will be willing to provide that feedback, and then I guess wise use of funds would be demonstrated by showing how much effort our side did in order to engage people, and how life always ends up in a different way, but then it's well documented. Thank you.
Thank you, Zsolt. Yes, this is exactly what we found with most of the participants, not all. And for those who just simply claim that they're too busy or they changed jobs in the meantime, but they still want a shorter version, we now made an opportunity for them to just have one web meeting. But it's not one-on-one, of course. We have web meetings per topic, and then so all of those who could not join all the steps, they can just join this one web meeting, and this way we also claim that, or we show that it's not the interest in our program that is the problem, but more of their own busyness and time organization. Another question?
Yes, please. One remark I have, and it's striking in prospect always, is that we presented that also in the Sustainable Energy Investment Forum that I was coordinating there for the public buildings. So in your slide, Mia, a very important thing that people should be aware, and especially people from the AAA and the other project, is that there is not enough knowledge on the market. Don't expect that people know. Yes. People think they know EPC, they think they know what are these things, but in the end, when it comes to materialization, everybody starts from zero. That. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mia. This was the main lesson you also have from prospects so far.
Yes. So, for example, they say their interest is in EPC, and then they come with a project that is not EPC, that's just taking a company and buying material from a certain company. So, and they don't realize that this is not actually an energy performance contract, or what would make an energy performance contract. So, even with the simplest things, just a lot of more awareness is needed, and a lot more just basic courses on what it is.
Exactly, and already there is quite some material also on how to finance, etc., and all these financing elements. But still, I think sometimes we when you start speaking to public authorities, it's best to start from zero on this level.
Yeah.
Maybe in prospect we cannot do it, but I'm speaking more about all the various projects running and we'll be working in public authorities. So it's best to start from zero on the financing elements, because indeed there is quite a big gap there. Also, people are keen to think that the third-party financing is something that comes from the sky, but in the end of the day, you know, we see that it takes a lot of time and a lot of work to do it, and first of all to get the people working and to find the technical people that can discuss with a bank or a financing institute or a third party, let's say, or an ESCO or whatever. So yeah, I think that's I think one of the most striking things in this project.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other question? Yes.
Plus, Mia, just on that financing aspect, I'm just wondering how much this subject of aggregation or actually increasing the scale by aggregating small projects to a scale which then could become interesting for pension funds and the sources of the big and cheap money. Was that something which appeared regularly in prospect as a major barrier in which actually people would like to see support and a better understanding?
For sure. Mostly with buildings, for sure, aggregation is needed, and we're actually starting this in one, we will consider it in one of our other projects we are doing. Yeah, but here it's just, we weren't able to help with this in this small amount of time, but what we could, what we were able to transfer is the idea that an energy agency usually really helps a lot. So if they don't have the resources on their own, they just can connect to some national, regional agency, and which can take the work for themselves. And this is also another thing we've seen. We have a lot of interest for the program from the agencies, and less interest from actually people working in cities, because people who do develop such capacities and they do know how to develop these kind of projects, they usually transfer to an agency and work there then. And maybe this is okay. Maybe it should be handled through an agency. Not every city has to have the capacity to do all these things. So yes, just connecting with somebody who can aggregate either knowledge or resources to make the projects happen is a good solution.
Thank you, Mia. Just to make sure that all of us are reading the chat window on the side, Jean-Sebastian is actually bringing up the example of Nantes for internal contracting, and he has some very, very valid points to share. And again, as he cannot speak, we should read him on the side.
Right.
Perfect. Okay. So yes, we will be scrolling that, and we'll try to present it also when it comes. Thank you. Yeah, that's good, Sebastian. It's a very good. It's a very good idea. This one we can also consider it. Yes, perfect. Okay, so I think then it's we are satisfied with the first one. I hope you enjoyed it. It was short. It's compact. We get all the essence of every project. The next one, keeping your agenda, as you have seen, is from Jean-Sebastian on the Pate project, which is one also of our key projects we've been working on. It's now it's finishing in October. We have a lot of results there. Same time on the 9th of October. Okay, stay tuned and let's be in touch. And we'll have a series, of course, of seminars like that. Thank you very much for your participation, and let's be in touch.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mia. Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.